Welcome to the ALCON Daily Update Brief for the 14th of November 2023, information cut off 1600 New Zealand time. Bottom line up front, Israeli forces are poised to storm the al-Shifa hospital. Australia and Tuvalu sign landmark climate and security treaty. International coverage, Middle East. The Israeli army notified the Ministry of Health in Gaza about their intention to storm the al-Shifa medical complex in the next hour. Following this, a Hamas spokesperson has stated that they are holding the Israeli occupation along with the international community and the United States responsible for the safety of thousands of medical teams, the wounded and displaced individuals. A warning was also issued against the Israeli occupation, cautioning against any potential massacre at the hospital. Reports have emerged of air raids by Israeli warplanes in the vicinity of al-Shifa. Israeli officials are said to have requested Egyptian authorities to refuse the 60 tons of humanitarian assistance sent by Iran to Egypt, intended for the blockaded Gaza Strip via the Rafah border crossing. Analysts comment, Israeli forces are now entering what is likely to be the most decisive and challenging part of the ground operation in Gaza. Hamas has almost certainly hardened their defensive position, particularly in the labyrinth of tunnels underneath the hospital. The first phase of the clearance will likely see Israeli defense forces pinpointing the precise locations of the tunnel. Israeli combat engineers will employ ground-penetrating radar and ground-based sonar to detect these tunnels. The Israeli request to refuse Iranian-supplied humanitarian aid likely stems from the suspicion that Iranian-supplied humanitarian aid will be destined for sustainment of Hamas operations. Indo-Pacific coverage. Australia and Tuvalu have signed a new treaty establishing the Filipili Union, which enhances security cooperation and creates a new migration pathway for Tuvaluans. The treaty, reflecting the Tuvaluan concept of neighbourliness, comes at a critical time for Tuvalu, a nation threatened by climate change-induced sea level rise. The treaty stipulates Australian support in cases of natural disasters, public health emergencies and military aggression, with a caveat requiring Tuvaluan consent for security and defence engagements with other states. Analysts comment, the geopolitical implications of this treaty are significant. Tuvalu, which recognises Taiwan and not the People's Republic of China, is one of the Pacific Island nations at the centre of growing Chinese influence in the South Pacific. Australia's interest with partnering with Tuvalu could be seen as a counter to China's regional ambitions, especially following the diplomatic switches of Kiribati and the Solomon Islands from Taipei to Beijing. Domestic coverage, Australia and New Zealand. The Australian and New Zealand Air Forces have collaborated to transport military aircraft to the Solomon Islands in preparation for the Pacific Games 2023. Utilising a Australian C-17 Globemaster, they transported a New Zealand NH-90 helicopter to Honiara. The incoming government in New Zealand has sparked attention on how the government will navigate its relationships with major global powers. Some analysts anticipate a possible shift in New Zealand's foreign policy, leaning more towards China. This inclination is attributed to strong economic ties and the reliance of New Zealand farming sector in the Chinese market. However, there is an expectation that under the leadership of the new Prime Minister, Christopher Luxon, New Zealand's engagement with Beijing will be closely monitored. That concludes the ALCON Daily Update for the 14th of November 2023. Ends.